Hello, I am so glad that I get to do this lesson with you guys. I'm sad that it can't be in person, and I miss seeing all of you guys. And for those of you who don't know me, I am Heather Schoolcraft, known as Miss Schoolcraft. I am a student from West Virginia State University in English secondary education. Today we're going to be talking about the Crucible and how it intertwines with a poem called Half Hanged Mary by Margaret Atwood. So what we're going to do is we're going to listen to an audiobook. And while we're listening to the audiobook, I want you to think of, just have a couple questions in the back of your mind. And I want you to think of the Crucible and everything that you've learned so far. I want you to remember the character Mary. I want you to keep that in the back of your mind. Keep the synopsis of who that character is, what you've learned about her so far. And then I want you to think about how witches were perceived back then. Were they accepted? Were they not accepted? Were they denied from society? How did their views contradict with the societal norms of that time? And so what we want to do is we want to have all of those questions in the back of our mind as we listen to this audiobook. And once we get finished with the audiobook, I'll give you more instructions of what we're supposed to do. You'll have a PDF, and I'm a visual learner, so if you want to, you are more than welcome to just listen, or you can follow along with the PDF. And so Half Hanged Mary is about Mary Webster, who was accused of witchcraft in the 1680s in Massachusetts. And she was hung from a tree, which we know, and the really interesting part about this story is that when she was cut down, she was still alive. And so people think that she actually lived for another 14 years, but of course that's not confirmed. And so while we listen to this, just keep that in the back of your mind and keep all of those questions that we talked about in the back of your mind as well.
7 p.m. Rumor was loose in the air, hunting for some neck to land on. I was milking the cow, the barn door opened to the sunset. I didn't feel the aimed word hit and go in like a soft bullet. I didn't feel the smashed flesh closing over it like water over a thrown stone. I was hanged for living alone, for having blue eyes and a sunburned skin, tattered skirts, few buttons, a weedy farm in my own name, and a surefire cure for warts. Oh yes, and breasts, and a sweet pair hidden with my body. Whenever there's talk of demons, these come in handy. 8 p.m. The rope was an improvisation. With time, they'd have thought of axes. Up I go like a windfall in reverse, a blackened apple stuck back onto the tree. Trussed hands rag in my mouth, a flag raised to salute the moon. Old bone-faced goddess, old original, who once took blood in return for food. The men of the town stalk homeward, excited by their show of hate, their own evil turned inside out like a glove, and me wearing it. 9 p.m. The bonnets come to stare, the dark skirts also, the upturned faces in between, mouths closed so tight they're lipless. I can see down into their eye holes and nostrils. I can see their fear. You were my friend. You too. I cured your baby, missus. I flushed yours out of you, non-white, to save your life. Help me down? You don't dare. I might rub off on you, like soot or gossip. Birds of a feather burn together, though as a rule ravens are singular. In a gathering like this one, the safe place is the background, pretending you can't dance. The safe stance pointing a finger. I understand. Can't spare anything. A hand, a piece of bread, a shawl against the cold, a good word. Lord knows there isn't much to go around. We need it all. 10 p.m. Well, God, now that I'm up here, with maybe some time to kill away from the daily finger work, leg work, work at the head level, we can continue our quarrel, the one about free will. Is it my choice that I'm dangling like a turkey's wattles from this more than indifferent tree? If nature is your alphabet, what letter is this rope? Does my twisting body spell out grace? I hurt, therefore I am. Faith, charity, and hope are three dead angels falling like meteors or burning owls across the profound blank sky of your face. 12 midnight. My throat is taut against the rope, choking off words and air. I'm reduced to knotted muscle. Blood bulges in my skull. My clenched teeth hold it in. I bite down on despair. Death sits on my shoulder like a crow, waiting for my squeezed beat of a heart to burst so it can eat my eyes. Or like a judge muttering about sluts and punishment, licking his lips. Or like a dark angel, insidious in his glossy feathers, whispering to me to be easy on myself, to breathe out finally. Trust me, he says, caressing me. Why suffer? A temptation to sink down into these definitions, to become a martyr in reverse, or food or trash. To give up my own words for myself, my own refusals. To give up knowing, to give up pain, to let go. 2 a.m. Out of my mouth is coming, at some distance from me, a thin gnawing sound which you could confuse with prayer, except that praying is not constrained. Or is it, Lord? Maybe it's more like being strangled than I once thought. Maybe it's a gasp for air, prayer. Do those men at Pentecost want flames to shoot out of their heads? Do they ask to be tossed on the ground, gabbling like holy poultry, eyeballs bulging? As mine are? As mine are. There's only one prayer. It's not the knees and the clean nightgown on the hooked rug. I want this, I want that. Oh, far beyond. Call it please, call it mercy, call it not yet, not yet. As heaven threatens to explode inwards in fire and shredded flesh, and the angels call. 3 a.m. Wind seethes in the leaves around me. The tree exudes night birds. Night birds yell inside my ears like stabbed hearts. My heart stutters in my fluttering cloth body. I dangle with strength going out of me. The wind seethes in my body, tattering the words. I clench my fists hold, no talisman or silver disc. My lungs flail as if drowning. I call on you as witness. I did no crime. I was born. I have borne. I bear. I will be born. This is a crime. I will not acknowledge leaves and wind hold on to me. I will not give in. 6 a.m. Sun comes up, huge and blaring, no longer a simile for God. Wrong address. I've been out there. Time is relative. Let me tell you, I have lived a millennium. I would like to say my hair turned white overnight, but it didn't. Instead, it was my heart, bleached out like meat in water. Also, I'm about 3 inches taller. This is what happens when you drift in space listening to the gospel of the red-hot stars. Pinpoints of infinity riddle my brain, a revelation of deafness. At the end of my rope, I testify to silence. Don't say I'm not grateful. Most will only have one death. I'll have 2. 8 a.m. When they came to harvest my corpse, open your mouth, close your eyes, cut my body from the rope. Surprise, surprise, I was still alive. Tough luck, folks. I know the law. You can't execute me twice for the same thing. How nice. I fell into the clover, breathed it in, and bared my teeth at them in a filthy grin. You can imagine how that went over. Now I only need to look out at them through my sky blue eyes. They see their own ill will staring them in the forehead and turn tail. Before, I was not a witch, but now I am one. Later. My body of skin waxes and wanes around my true body, a tender nimbus. I skitter over the paths and fields, mumbling to myself like crazy, mouthful of juicy adjectives and purple berries. The townsfolk dive headfirst into the bushes to get out of my way. My first death orbits my head, an ambiguous nimbus, medallion of my ordeal. No one crosses that circle. Having been hanged for something I never said, I can now say anything I can say. Holiness gleams on my dirty fingers. I eat flowers and dung, 2 forms of the same thing. I eat mice and give thanks. Blasphemies gleam and burst in my wake like lovely bubbles. I speak in tongues. My audience is owls. My audience is God, because who the hell else could understand me? Who else has been dead twice? The words boil out of me, coil after coil of sinuous possibility. The cosmos unravel from my mouth, all fullness, all vacancy.
All right, and so as we had talked before, it's really interesting because there was a surviving account that she was left out all night, and when she was cut down from the tree, she was still alive, which is crazy to think about because she was just hung. But yet, there's counts that she lived for 14 years after that. And so when we think about Mary, we want to think about her as a character. And so we know that she is John Proctor's servant after Abigail was let go. She moves back and forth between going with the Pack girls and to the Proctors, and she's drawn to the girls and Abigail, and she knows deep down that the Proctors are innocent. She knows that the girls are lying and there's no witchcraft in Salem. And I think for much of the third act, Mary tries to help Abigail, yet she's still, I think deep down, Mary is actually terrified of Abigail. And so it's really interesting to see the synopsis of the character of Mary and how we think that witches were perceived back then, because clearly witchcraft was not perceived in a good way. It was perceived as bad, because back then you really wanted to align with society's views, and you really wanted to align with the Christian norms, whereas witches definitely did not align with those norms. And so what we're going to do now is the PDF that we had, it looks like this. And so what you're going to do is you're going to follow along with these questions. You're going to have a Google form, and all I want you to do is just to fill out these questions. Fill them out to the best of your ability. Please write in full sentences. And then at the end of section 1 on that form, there's going to be another section, and that's just to test your knowledge to see what you learned from this, if you learned anything from this. And once you fill that out, you are golden. And again, I'm really sad that I didn't get to say goodbye to you guys in person, but it was awesome getting to meet you guys for the short amount of time that I knew you, and I hope you guys all live wonderful and happy lives, and it was awesome getting to meet you guys. Have a great day, guys. Bye.